Ha! Gather up your best regalia. We're all strutting by azaleas. Party in that hothouse round the block. Oh, shuffle on up for our greenhouse stomp. Yeah, there's dancers prancing by the peonies. Lola Lilac's getting boozy. Pansies posing with magnolia fox. Oh, we're all synced, tickled pink for our greenhouse stomp. Fern and berry, a crater stereo by the lemongrass. Rose and dahlia filled with laughter, doing agapanthus dance. So grab a partner of your choosing. I'll be there with black-eyed Susan. For a flora female, she's the top. Yes, get back, buttercup, grab a clover just for luck. We're all pining for our greenhouse stomp. Your best regalia. Oh, we're all strutting by azaleas. Party in that hothouse around the block. Won't you shovel up for that greenhouse stomp? Yeah, there's dancers prancing by the peonies. Lola Lilac's getting boozy. Pansies posing with magnolia fox. Yes, we're all synced, tickled pink for our greenhouse stomp. Fern and berry, a crater stereo by the lemongrass. Rose and dahlia filled with laughter, doing agapanthus dance. So grab a partner of your choosing. I'll be there with black-eyed Susan. For a flora female, she's the top. Oh, get back, buttercup, grab a clover just for luck. We're all pining, yes, perfect timing for our greenhouse stomp.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. What's up, folks? It's good to see you. My name's Dandy Wellington. Happy Sunday. It is good to see you. You're on the Dandy Live Show. The Dandy Live Show. Ooh, yeah, baby. Ooh, yeah, baby. Ooh, yeah. So, folks, welcome to this live show, an opportunity for us to talk about my fascinating voyage that's happening in October this year, October 2022, aboard the Queen Mary 2. We're going to get all the details, talk about the unique private 7-day experience, vintage experience that we're creating, I'm curating with Ahoy Vintage Cruises. It's amazing. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be so good. An experience that can only be harnessed and enjoyed because of Ahoy Vintage Cruises. Thank you so much for y'all helping me out, coming together. We're creating a bit of magic. It's so awesome. So we're going to answer your questions, whatever questions you have on this. hit them down in the chat, of course. And speaking of the chat, let me know where you're watching from. I want to give you a shout out. The chat is already blowing up in all kinds of joy and happiness. Please let me know where you're watching from, and I'll give you a shout out. Folks, the Dandy Live Show starts right now. My name's Dandy Wellington, inviting you to join me on a fascinating voyage. We'll be crossing the Atlantic Ocean from London to New York aboard Cunard's world-famous Queen Mary II. Travel the sea in style on this vintage-themed 7-day passage. I'll be hosting private parties with my band in the largest ballroom at sea.
Across the ocean blue.
Plus, daily activities will give you an opportunity to show off your vintage style. I can't wait to set sail. Yes, I can't wait to set sail indeed. Folks, it is great to see you. Just so you know, just in case you didn't know, my name's Dandy Wellington. I am a band leader, event producer, and just coordinator of vintage experiences. I have performed all over the world, and I'm a born and raised New Yorker. And man, it is a joy, a true treat to be hanging out with you today, talking to you about this fascinating voyage. I've been a band leader for years. I've been blessed to perform at places like the Roundhouse in London, the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia, and, you know, to be performing and curating a 7-day vintage style experience aboard the Queen Mary II is just, it's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous idea, and we're going to lean into it. We're going to have some fun. We've got some great things planned, and I got to tell you, the chat right now is just blowing up. Latoya, what is going on? From Oakland, California. So fabulous. Good to see you. Yazelle. Yazelle from New Jersey. What's up, Yazelle? How you doing, girl? Yazelle, you're so amazing. It's so good to see you. Susan, hello from Tennessee. Tennessee. Boy, I really dig this. Yeah, so good. Good to see you. Thank you so much for hanging out. Julia from Seattle. Oh, we've got West Coast, East Coast, all kinds of coasts. Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Beautiful. Let's see who we've got coming from abroad. Who we've got. Who do we have hanging out in the chat abroad? Wow. Switzerland is in the building. So good to see you. Amazing. Let's see who else we have. Of course. Do we have Canada? Is Canada in the house? Yes, it is. What's up, Jeff? It's good to see you. So amazing. This is crazy. This is so fabulous. Germany is in the building. What's up, Jonas? Yes. So good. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I say us because I will be joined by a guest a little bit later, the fabulous Mandy Gould, who is marketing director of Ahoy Vintage Cruises, and we will be talking about all kinds of magical things that are happening with this 7-day voyage. So, by the way, since we've got stuff going on in the chat, let me know. Just drop in the chat if you've booked already. If you've already booked this fascinating voyage, I want to know if you're coming to hang out with us. So just type booked in the chat, and I'll give you a shout out a little bit later. So beautiful. So we've got a lot to cover. We've got one of the greatest ocean liners that has ever sailed. We've got Harlem jazz and that old time goodness. We've got vintage style. We've got elegance, we've got travel, and we've got an opportunity for us, having dealt with so much in the past 2 years to get a little bit of a respite. So let's get into it.
To any normal person, there is nothing in the world quite so fascinating as a great ship. Ships have always been romantic and adventurous, but when you come to think of it, it's only in the last century that they've been romantic and adventurous and luxurious.
That's indeed true, and no ship is more luxurious than the Queen Mary 2. And we're going to get into a little bit about the Queen Mary 2 in just a second. But for some of you who are in the chat, who are subscribers to my YouTube channel, or, you follow me on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you might be like, what is this Fascinating Voyage? What is he talking about? Well, the Fascinating Voyage is a 7-day luxury vintage style experience at sea, curated by Dandy Wellington and Ahoy Vintage Cruises aboard the world famous Queen Mary 2. Enjoy a full week of up to 10 private vintage themed events, including seminars, cocktail parties, dinners, and dancing on the largest ballroom at sea. Along the way, guests will enjoy all the amenities available on the biggest ocean liner ever built, the Queen Mary 2. I mean, if that isn't a blurb, I don't know what is. I mean, I wrote it myself. There is a lot that we have to cover. This Fascinating Voyage has been the brainchild of myself and Mandy and Tom from Ahoy Vintage Cruises just for so many months. And what I want it to be is something that is elegant, that is fantastic, that is inclusive, that is welcoming, and just an opportunity for us to let our hair down, enjoy a bit of the joys of yesteryear with the modern joys of today. So let's get into the ship, because we've got to know where we're going to be, hanging out. Yeah, we can curate events and experiences, here in New York or in Seattle or in Tennessee, but what is it like to be on an ocean liner like the Queen Mary 2? Well, let's break it down. No other. It's important to understand that it is an ocean liner and the difference between an ocean liner and a cruise ship. What are we talking about here? Okay. So an ocean liner's entire existence has been to ferry people from one place to another along a timed specific route that is repeatable and traversing some of the largest bodies of water that we have on this planet. So the Queen Mary 2 is, I'm all good. I think I can hear myself. Can you guys hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me in the chat really quick. The Queen Mary 2 has been operating for Cunard, the ship company, has been operating for 180 years, right? 180 years. They have been doing this same route, right? From Southampton to New York. So they know how to handle a route like this. And ocean liners are built specifically for this kind of a trip, right? They're built to withstand anything the ocean can throw at it because they have to make that timed trip scheduled trip from Southampton to New York. So when you deal with something like that, you're already dealing with a serious ship. But a passage that goes from London to New York or Southampton to New York, if you're going to be on there for all that time, you have to be living a luxurious and comfortable and beautiful life. And so that's what the Queen Mary is built for. In modern times, it could traverse the Atlantic in 4 days. But they've extended it to 7, a luxurious 7, so that you can drink in all the fabulousness that is happening on this ship. So that's what we're dealing with. And we're going to go inside the ship and to give you a little bit of a look at the design, because you just want to talk about like a magical Art Deco dream. It's incredible. It really is incredible. So that I'm excited for you to see this. But also I want to let you guys know that this ocean liner, the Queen Mary 2, is the first ocean liner that has been built in 30 years. And it is the only one that exists right now. It's the only ocean liner. So we're dealing with some true pedigree. And so let's take a look into the Art Deco paradise that is the Queen Mary 2. I mean, get ready, folks, because by itself, a ship like this, an experience like this is already elegant. But then you add to that a group of people who love vintage, love old things, love Art Deco design, and are spending 7 days in this dream, this floating dreamland that is the Queen Mary. And so I'm really excited not only to get a chance to perform here, but also to curate all of these events. And not, an event like this, or an experience like this. By the way, that's the Queen's room. Don't worry, we'll talk about that in just a moment. The largest ballroom at sea. Wow. An experience like this is why I partnered with Ahoy Vintage Cruises. Because to think about being on this ship and going, all right, let's lean into 1930s, but make it feel like today, right? Let's lean into the Gilded Age, but make it feel like today, with just this beautiful collection of people from all around the world who are joining this experience. And that is what I'm so excited about. Now, you see a couple photos of the cabins. We're going to get a little bit into that later with Mandy.
No voyage will be complete without that pleasant social occasion, the captain's cocktail party. To be an officer on a great passenger liner, you require more gifts than navigation or an eye for weather or a head for figures. In varying degrees, every man and woman in the ship's company is a host as well as a sailor.
I had to put that up because I just love the firm handshake that he gives at the end. He's like, hey, how are you? So good. So we're going to get into the cabins and things a little bit later with Mandy, because Mandy has been on the ship. And of course, Tom is also in the chat. So Tom may also be able to answer a quick question. But don't worry, we're going to get into it. By the way, when you have questions, if you have questions, please write question in all caps before your question, so that going through the chat, we can just quickly look and go, okay, this is a question. Let's pull it out. A little question, we can pull it out, okay? But don't worry, we've got Mandy looking at the chat. Jeff is here looking at the chat. Tom's looking at the chat. Everybody's keeping their eye on the ball, because this conversation is only just beginning. So, as you can see, we're going to talk about this ship a little bit. What happens on the ship aside from this vintage experience? Because that's the great thing about this, is we're having a private 7-day curated vintage experience with 10 events that are only through Ahoy Vintage Cruises. I'm curating them myself with them. And no other person on the ship who hasn't booked with Ahoy has access to it. So we have our own little ship within a ship, which is great. But what is on the ship at large? Well, 9 restaurants, 7 bars and pubs. Hang out, folks. Sports center, shops, 5 pools. There's an art gallery, a casino, spa. There's a nightclub. There's a theater. There's a planetarium on board. Okay. A library with 8,000 volumes, the largest library at sea. And of course, the Queen's Room, the largest ballroom at sea. So, I mean, this is where we're at. Think about it. You wake up, you look out your window, and there's just open ocean. Amazing. You know, you put on your stroller suit, whatever, what have you, and you meander down to breakfast, grab a little bite, you know, a little champagne with your breakfast. Why not? You're living in the lap of luxury. And then you decide, maybe I'll go check out the library and peruse a book. Come on, the library. Oh, I forgot my book at home. Don't worry, we've got 8,000 volumes. It's okay. So this is what we're dealing with here. Now, the question is, folks, why book with Ahoy Vintage Cruises? Well, sure, you could speak to different cruise lines, but you're not going to get this guy, yours truly, right? I'm curating this event, this series of events, this 7-day experience with Ahoy. So just like if you were to come to one of my events in New York, sure, you could show up, but you're not going to get that same connection, right? We have an experience that is not just starting on the ship. It's going to start as it is right now, months ahead of time, with programs and sponsors that are coming on and just pre-event materials. And the great thing about having someone like Tom on board is that Tom is really going to usher you through the process day by day, making sure that everything is booked, from hotels in London to travel to Southampton. And even if you're spending time in New York, a little something in New York too. So that's why booking with Ahoy Vintage Cruises is so important, because I want to know who you are. I want to connect with you personally before we go on this voyage, because that's what it's about. I have lived this life in this scene and built community. Come on, community about it, y'all. Y'all know about community. Hey, Abby Cox. Oh my gosh. Abby Cox traveling across the country, and she's hanging out in the chat. What's up, Abby? Thank you so much. But this is what it's about. Community and connecting, and then building this relationship, this experience all the way through. And so that's why we're booking and hanging out with Ahoy Vintage Cruises. Can I get a witness? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. So let's break down some of these experiences, folks. What's happening? We've got 5 daytime events, up to 5. But knowing me, I'll probably be like, hey, we're hanging out by the pool. Come by. I'll bring the band. You know what I mean? I'll probably be like, oh yeah, it might be a little bit brisk, but throw on your overcoat. We're going to go up on deck and play shuffleboard. That's the vibe. But we've got 5 curated events, daytime events, and then we've got our evening dances and socials with my band. My 10-piece band. And so what am I talking about when I talk about these daytime events? Style seminars, cocktails parties, multiple cocktails, vintage trivia, photo shoots. And I mean, you already saw the interior of the ship. Photo shoots, please. Photo shoots. It's got to happen. It's got to happen there. And so, of course, the evening events are going to be happening in the Queen's Room, the largest ballroom at sea. Come on. Yes, it's happening. I'm super excited. So for the first time, I'm going to reveal the themes that I'm working with, the music that I'm starting to curate for this experience, and around what themes I am curating that music so that we can experience these 5 evenings of dance with the band together. But first, let's see some old friends.
Isn't it wonderful being here tonight like this? Still on the same boat together.
Oh, I seldom change boats in mid-ocean.
She's so sassy. Come on, Ginger. So one of the themes that I'm going to be building music around for our evenings is Bon Voyage. I mean, why not? We're going on a fascinating voyage, but it really is a vintage adventure for all of us. So planes, trains, automobiles, traveling to far-flung places. It's going to be a travel spectacular, and of course with a nautical tint because we're at sea. So I'm really excited to be putting together our Bon Voyage and travel extravaganza for you guys. And what's the next thing? At the movies. Come on. At the movies. And you see some of the stars there already. Judy Garland, Fats Waller, Louis Armstrong, Fred and Ginger, Marlena Dietrich, Lena Horne, the Nicholas brothers, Gene Kelly, Sammy Davis Jr., just to name a few of the people who are inspiring this particular program at the movies. And I'm not sure which of these which of these are going to be on formal nights, which there are 3 formal nights throughout our voyage, but don't worry, we'll figure it out. Another one that I've been working on and ruminating on is a program called Under the Moon. I'm talking about I Wished on a Moon, or Stars Shining Bright Above You. You know what I'm talking about? Come on. Just so many possibilities for celestial elegance and romance. Under the Moon. We've got Frank, Ella, Billie Holiday, Duke Ellington, and of course, those Boswell sisters. Come on, Bozzies. Then we're going to go down to the Big Easy because there's always a masquerade ball on ship or some sort of masquerade situation. So, of course, we're going to New Orleans. Bessie Smith, Kid Ory, Louis Armstrong, Big Easy. Come on. Put on your white tie and tails. Don that gown and a mask. I know there's a bunch of y'all that are like, oh, I don't really want to go to Carnival, but I've got those masks. I don't need to go to Venice. Hanging out on the Queen Mary with Dandy Wellington. Let's go. Let's go. And then as we swing into port, those sidewalks of New York, you know, my hometown, New York City, that gem of gems. So I'm excited to bring some of the neighborhoods and sounds of New York to you on this wonderful night. So that's just a little taste. Exclusive. Nobody's seen it yet. You saw it first because you're on the live. So thanks so much for being on the live. Thanks so much for joining me and getting a chance to look at that up close and personal. Come on, let me know which of those themes is your favorite. Are you into that bon voyage? You into that at the movies, huh? You thinking a little TCM life happening? Or do you want that New Orleans beat? You know what I'm saying? So good. So good. Let me know in the chat which one you're excited about and which one you're already going. Yeah, the outfit that I've been building for months, it works with this one. So what's included on this cruise? I apologize. I will say cruise because it's a word that's readily available and people will understand what I'm talking about. We are on a ship and we are going someplace, but it is a crossing. So if somebody says, no, it's a crossing, they're right, because we're crossing the Atlantic from Southampton to New York. So what are we doing on this crossing? What is included? Well, all food is included at the main dining rooms and buffets. High tea service is included. Don't worry, I will harp on high tea in just a moment. Let me get through this because I'm already too excited. Room service, of course, is included. And the only exception is at the American-style steakhouse, the Veranda, which the cost of it ends up being something like $36. Sort of covers, basically 2 martinis if you're in New York. So many different opportunities to go and eat to your heart's content. And the cuisine on the Queen Mary 2 is just divine. It is divine and it is never ending, it seems. There's always a place to eat. There's always a place to get a bite to eat. So that's one of the things that's included. Of course, all the onboard entertainment. Now, of course, if you're booking through Ahoy Vintage Cruises, you're getting me, and that's a special thing that nobody else who is on the Queen Mary will get. But everyone else, and you as well, will get the Sports Center, all 5 pools, the Royal Court Theater, the Illumination Planetarium. They have a planetarium on this ship. I'm just saying. The library, of course, the nightclub, and hanging out in the Queen's Room. And when you're not dancing in the Queen's Room to my band, you might be enjoying high tea there, okay? High tea. So good. So what's not included? What's not included in the booking price? Well, as Tom likes to say, if you shop, gamble, drink, or get your hair done, it's not included. And thank you, Tom, for making it so clear. But there is, speaking of alcohol, there is a drinks package. And we would suggest that you do get the drinks package rather than getting, just sort of buying a la carte while you're on the ship. Simply because it's $69 per person per day, which includes tax and tip. And it covers about 15 drinks per day. Unlimited non-alcoholic drinks and 20% off of bottles of wine or bubbles or whatnot. Now, think about it this way. And I have to cite Tom again on his very, very careful laying out of this incredible schedule, right? Okay, so maybe you wake up and you're like, let's have a mimosa. Your friend comes over, you're like, all right, let's have 2. All right, let's say mimosas are $9, now it's $18. Great, $18. Lunch, let's have a beer or maybe a glass of wine. Have a couple, you got some friends, you're promenading about the ship with a glass of wine in your hand. $7, $11, you've added that. Afternoon tea. Who's not going to have a glass of champagne with their afternoon tea. I will. Oh, I will. I will. And if I'm joined with folks and we're having a luxurious 3-course afternoon tea, I'll probably have a second one. And then when it comes to the evening events, hanging out with me and my band, couple cocktails, get dancing, moving, right? Maybe let's say those cocktails are 12 or 15, right? Now we're getting up there. And then we haven't even had dinner yet. We haven't even sat down to have a delicious, luxurious dinner where we might as well have some wine. Maybe we'll get a bottle, 20% off. Why not? So that's why we sort of suggest getting the drinks package. If you're somebody who drinks 1 drink, 2 drinks a day, and that's your vibe, sure, a la carte. But if you on vacation mode, okay, maybe the drinks package would be the vibe, right? So, reasons to book early, and I always say this, and Tom always says this, this is the ship, right? The only existing ocean liner at sea. So, I would encourage everybody to book early. You can put in a deposit and it's totally refundable. I know the world we're living in. Trust me, I'm a musician. I know what's going on. I produce events for a living. I know what's going on in the world. Everything is totally refundable. May is the date that we're shooting for to have everything set so we can figure out moving forward. But things move, things change. Thus, everything is refundable up until May at this point. Don't worry. We'll make sure we're communicating with you. We're keeping an eye on the world. I understand. So this ship sells out, and also cabins fill up, right? There's a number of different types of cabins, and you may say to yourself, "Oh, I want this level of cabin, or I want a cabin at this part of the ship." Maybe you get a little bit woozy on ships, and you want a cabin that's towards the middle of the ship because, as the ship is moving along the ocean, the center point of the ship is the one that's not going to be moving as much. So if that's something that you want to do, booking early will help you for that. So those are a few of the things. We'll talk more about cabins a little bit more, and we're going to talk about vintage style because I have some visions about what vintage style is, and I know that there sometimes are some misconceptions as to what that means, right? And what falls into it or falls out of it, and also understanding my music. I sort of live in like a 20s to 40s sort of world. Mid 1930s is my that's my home when it comes to music, and my style. So there's a lot of people who are asking questions, trying to figure out what exactly vintage style is. So we'll talk about that in just 1 second. Wait, who is that?
Then the countryman said, "But dash it all, mister, if I must the horse, I'll miss the mass. And I've never been behind before besides." It was absolutely priceless.
Ripping. You mean top hole? There you are, laddie, and very nice.
Oh man, he looks so nervous. Why are you looking so nervous? Come on. So what do I mean by vintage style? All right. I like to call this miscellaneous old-timey, right? Everything from Victorian to 20s to teens to cottagecore to Disney bounding, dark academia, history bounding, 1940s, folks all over the place. And listen, I am not a vintage purist. I love vintage. I love it a lot. It is my entire lifestyle. But a big part of the way I dress is mixing modern clothes with vintage clothes, right? It's not about, oh, it needs to be perfect all the time necessarily. And there's a lot of us that are at different points in our life, different budgets in our life. You know, some of us came to vintage early. Some of us have been dressing in vintage since we were 14. And some of us have only been dressing vintage for a few years, or with vintage style, and trying to figure that out and embrace your self-expression. So gatekeeping is not my vibe. Inclusion is my vibe, right? The point is that we're here on this adventure. We're here on this journey. Some of us are obsessed with vintage travel, and that's why we'll want to go. Some of us are audiophiles and love the music and really want that. And some of us love clothes. Some of us, you know, just want to relax after a couple of years of craziness. So whatever stage you are, whatever your style is, it's about style, right? Fashion is an industry. Style is personal. Style is personal. And I'm going to show you guys something that folks who have known me for a long time have seen this evolution, but my style has evolved. And it's never been pure, perfect vintage. It's always had a touch of me in it. And that's the thing, is you want to bring you. I want you to bring you on this experience, right? We can enjoy the nostalgia. We can enjoy the elegance and be ourselves and not be like, oh, that trouser length is not right. Please, what do you mean not right? It's your style. So check this out. 2009 to 2015. As you can see in the first photo in 2009, that's broad daylight. And look at the shirt I'm wearing. Look at the length of the cuff. I think that tailcoat is from Patricia Fields. I mean, I was a club kid. Come on now. That hat, that is not a silk plush top hat. No, it's not. That's cool. I was living my best life and enjoying it. I was out there loving the environment. Yeah. And moving in, top hat with modern clothes, not a tuxedo or a silk or satin lapel in sight, but I'm still rocking it. Okay, sure. The last photo is white tie and tails. And almost everything that I'm wearing is vintage. But it doesn't mean that the other two photos are wrong. Right? It just means that that's where I was. Right? And so everybody's at different places, different stages. And the point is for me, is for this community, this world vintage community, to come together on this ship and be a part of this experience and, you know, have conversations with each other, mix and mingle. We're on the internet a lot and we connect to each other a lot that way. But in person, to the sound of a band from Harlem, come on. We can do it. We can do some great things. So that's my perspective on vintage style. It's all about inclusion. It's all about love, right? It's all about that good joy and happiness. How you guys doing? Look at this chat. This chat is just, I love it. I love this chat. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Eric. No snobbery, please. No snobbery, please. Because there's no need. There's no need. You know, there's a lot of people, and I love them on this crossing, which are, you know, they're historic dressers and they know. And that's the beautiful thing. But the thing I also know about them is that they're inclusive. And that, you know, and that's why they're coming on the crossing. That's why they're friends of mine. And that's what we're trying to set forward here. So to get a little bit more about the experience, right? Somebody who's been on this elegant ship, the person behind the curtain when it comes to marketing, I want to bring in the lovely, talented, and fabulous Miss Mandy Gould. How's it going, Mandy? How's it going? I can't hear you. You're muted. You
Good.
muted.
Do you recognize me?
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. There was a little bit of a delay. It's all good. Yes, I do
It's working?
recognize.
Okay, good.
I do
No
recognize
problem.
you.
Yes. Great to see you. This has been so good.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Wonderful.
How are
Yes,
you? How are
the
you
chat
doing?
has been great.
Yeah, talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Go.
Yeah, great. We might have a small delay, so I
Yes.
won't talk too much, but I love the chat. I've been noting some of the questions people have been asking, and some of those things have already been addressed.
Yes. Yes.
I also have someone downstairs confirming my video and my audio. So thank you. Now, if you have questions we don't answer or you need more details about Tom, who is in the chat, he is our extraordinary crossing expert, Cunard expert. He's fabulous. And, there's a few questions that have come up that might be specific to your nationality. So, for example, everyone needs a passport. We all have to have the passport, but you might have additional requirements depending on what country you're coming from.
Right.
So that's the sort of thing that he'll be able to help you with. And also, that booking, people were asking, for example, about how do you get from London to Southampton? So if you book with Tom, he can help you. He can even get discounts on airfare, which is amazing, up to half price on airfare. But he can also get you the hotel with all of us together in London. So you could be at the same hotel with Dandy, for example. And he's arranging a bus for everyone to get down to Southampton together if you would like. Now, if you would rather travel on your own, I've taken with my husband the train. We went down from London to Southampton, and that's not complicated either, but it certainly would be fun to do it all together with all of us dressed up on the bus.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's I'm really excited to hear from you about the experience that you had on the Queen Mary 2. First of all, how many times have you been on? Just once or twice?
I've only been on once. Now, when you get to chat with Tom, and he'll be on the Zoom next week if you want to join us all together for a Zoom, He's been on probably hundreds of times. But I have to say, I am a cruiser. I've been on other cruise ships, and this is an ocean liner, and it's very special. So I didn't expect to be like kind of a young person who would like cruising. It was an accident, but I got kind of hooked. And the Cunard ship is really something special. It's just a different level of elegance. Like there are some things that you'll still have on every ship, including Cunard. Like if you really want to go and play bingo or do karaoke, I believe it's offered.
Right.
But when you're on these other cruise ships, that's the focus, right?
Yeah.
Where on Cunard, it's a totally different focus. It's very elegant, where instead of doing karaoke, they have lectures with wonderful guests every week.
Yes.
We don't know who it's going to be this week, but it's going to be good, whatever it is. Like, for example, often there's a film historian, or there might be someone with some sort of scientific background. It's really exciting just to have this. Like they treat you like you're intelligent, which I love.
Right. Well, that's the incredible thing is it's not. I was watching something.
Just a tiny bit.
I was watching something from Cunard, and it's it's not just luxury at sea. There's an opportunity for enrichment. I mean, hence the library that's there, hence the lectures, film historians, people who are scientists, people who are thinkers, who might have something interesting to impart to the guests. And so, I mean, that's such a wonderful thing that you're not just getting, of course, what we're curating, but you're also getting all of all of the amenities of the ship and this really well-rounded programming that they've got.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And for me, the two main draws were afternoon tea, because I love afternoon tea, and I love they have the white glove service and that whole English approach to really some afternoon pampering. It's lovely.
Yes.
And also the dance floor.
Oh,
because my husband and I did go to dance. Absolutely.
right. Yes. I mean, I know that there are quite a few people who are in the chat who are looking forward to dancing. And folks,
Mhm.
maybe if you're not somebody who dances regularly, I think that you'll look at that dance floor and you'll go, "Let me give it a whirl.
Right.
Let me see what all the hype is about." But can we just go back to that afternoon
Yes.
tea? I want to talk about the
Mhm.
cabins in a second, but that afternoon tea, please tell us the story. Tell us this story, please, about afternoon tea. I want to know the
Sorry if
experience.
there's a little internet hiccup here.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yes. So, yes. So the main tea is served in the Queen's room, which is also where our private parties are going to be.
Hmm.
So you've got seating all around the dance floor, and unlike our parties, which will be a little bit wilder
Right.
later on, still elegant, but a little bit more lively, they might have a string quartet play or a harpist. It's
Right.
very relaxed.
Right.
And it is different than being served. You might be familiar with the tiers, being served a tiered tray
Yeah.
of sweets and treats and scones at your table. In this case, in the Queen's room, they actually come around, and it's more almost like hors d'oeuvres. It's very pampered,
Yeah.
where they will come around with sandwiches, and it's different every day. They will have the sweets, they'll have the scones and the cream, and all of the tea to choose from, and you're really
Yes.
being waited on the entire time. It's
So
so
good.
lovely.
And of course,
Yeah,
Alexandra is
and you
jumping
have to
in,
have, yes,
telling us what's up.
yeah.
What do we have to have? Tell me. Tell me. Tell me.
Yes. Well, what I was going to say, you have to be you have to be planning your appetite a little bit, because everything is so delicious, and you can't really say, "Oh, that little cake looks good, but I'll have it tomorrow," because it will be a different glorious cake the next day. So, you
Wh-
have to take advantage when you see it, because there's so much variety. There's going to be several sandwiches, little finger sandwiches, and definitely a whole beautiful array of sweets. There might be a macaron. There might be a little, what do they call it? Just, I don't know if people know they're baking, but they'll have like a Battenberg, I think it's called,
Oh
little
my
cake that's so pretty and
gosh.
delicate. Yeah, it's different every day. So, what I'm pleased about is that we will be at the late dinner seating. So, there's lots of time to digest
Yes.
between tea and
Yes.
dinner.
Oh man. So wow. No tea service repeating. So you literally are just like,
Right.
"Oh man. It's like Pokemon for tea. Got to catch them all. Got to catch them all."
Right.
So amazing.
Don't miss your chance. It's
Yeah.
lovely. Now, the scones are the same every day, and you'll have your cream, and they're quite filling. So, you'll get a chance to walk around, and we'll be dancing. Our private parties are actually before our late dinner seating. So that's
Right.
good, because we'll be dancing and ready to have our dinner, like a
Yeah.
little break after tea.
Now, I know folks want to know about the cabins, and of course, for clothes horses like myself, we want to know about the storage.
Mhm.
Please tell us a little bit
Yes.
about the
Question.
cabins.
Yes. It does range from, the smaller cabins up to like a full queen's grill. If you have a small cabin, the basic cabins have three divided sections, which, most of the time when I'm traveling with my husband, I take up most of the three. And he somehow finds room as well. But it's a good amount of space. It takes a little bit of planning, what's going to hang, and there are drawers as well for things that could be folded. It's definitely a decent amount of space. I prefer to take everything out of my suitcase, and then you can actually lift up the bed in a smaller room and put your empty suitcase under the bed. So
Right.
that is an option in a smaller room, just to get everything out and make it available. And then as you have a bigger cabin, you get more and more really luxurious cabin space and closet space, which is great. I have friends coming who I know are bringing an awful lot of luggage,
Right.
which is fine. If you really are more, if you're in a small room and you need more space, you can even, I mean, this isn't going to look that great, but if you're just trying to keep your stuff
Yeah.
in your cabin, you can even pull down. They have sort of these extra bunk beds that I think are meant for kids in a small cabin, but you could even use that to store more stuff top.
Listen.
But the princess cabins, you've got lots and lots of space for your luggage. Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to clothes, you do what you gotta do. So that's
right.
That's how it goes.
That is right.
It's totally good.
And you can send things out to be pressed, which is very
Right.
nice because I personally, there actually is a laundrette, which is amazing on Cunard because many cruise lines don't have that.
Right.
So you can go and there is an iron. It's a small space, but it's got what you need if you'd like to iron. But you can also just send it to be pressed and you can have your laundry done or you can do it yourself. But that's a nice thing. You know, Jeff would have his tuxedo pressed and ready for him. Right. And it's very convenient for sure. I know people are asking about food and food options. We'll come back to that in just a moment.
Sure.
In terms of packing, I actually wanted to ask you, Dandy.
Sure.
How many different outfits do you think you're going to bring?
Why are you going to do this to me? I mean, the palpitations that just happened for me. Wow. How many outfits? How many days are there in a month? It's. I know we're going for a week, but I'm thinking on a monthly scale when it comes to clothes. My gosh, I'm not sure.
Yes.
I will say
it's tricky to plan.
It is definitely tricky to plan, and I know I was joking on Instagram with some folks about the fact that there are definitely some spreadsheets that are happening right now. Some spreadsheets that are happening right now because it is significant. And when we get in the Zoom, we can sort of lean into some of the packing techniques that I have had and other of my friends have had when it comes to even just short trips, you know, opportunities to take a suit and break it up, you know, and if you just add a sweater to those trousers, all of a sudden it's a new look. So there's lots of different ways, whether you have a massive wardrobe and you want to bring everything, or you have or you want to bring less, or you have a smaller wardrobe and you want to find ways to stretch it out. There's a lot of different techniques, and I mean, I'm happy to talk about it in the Zoom next Sunday, but
that's a good idea.
You know, I'm even happy to have an entire Zoom dedicated to clothing because
that's a great idea.
That's
yeah, I think
exciting.
I wanted to ask you about that. It's true; it's such a big topic. But you know, as people are planning, you can plan an outfit for every day and every evening, or you can plan to repeat, and both is okay.
That's right.
And you can accessorize in different ways. So I want people to keep in mind, you might be someone who really...
Oh, we've lost Mandy. But I just want to give a shout. Mandy will be back in just a moment, but I just want to give a shout out to Esther, because Esther is saying that she's guilty of spreadsheeting and mood boarding. Yeah, and me too. No big deal. And also LaToya, she's talking about doing that research, right? 40s, 50s. I love it. Capsule wardrobes. Capsule wardrobes will save you folks, right? I mean, that is absolutely the key. Don't you agree, Mandy? Capsule wardrobes are the vibe, right?
I love that. I mean, something that I personally like is to have a little lady's suit and to work with separates.
Yes.
So that I don't have to bring necessarily a different day outfit. I do like to personally have a different night outfit every night. I don't repeat at night. But for daytime, I actually like the challenge because during, you know, maybe the 30s, certainly in the 30s and definitely 40s, 50s on, people would repeat, actually.
Right.
They would, you know, have that basic skirt and, you know, pair it with a different blouse, that kind of thing. So it's its own challenge to work out of a capsule.
So true. And I love what Abigail is saying here, that accessories are your friend. I totally agree with that. I mean, I'm sure that if you were all to look through my Instagram, you will see that I will have worn this shirt a lot. This is a shirt that I got from Proper Cloth, and I love the shirt. But with accessories, you would never know, right? It's all about how you put it together. It's all about how you mix and match things. Now, Jeff is asking about the formal nights. Now, there are 3 formal nights.
Yes.
And I think we should talk about the dress code on the ship in general. I would sort of say
Yes.
that in general the ship is a more dressed up ship than others, right? Would you agree with that?
Certainly than like a Caribbean cruise,
Right.
and the vibe you would get on most of those kind of cruises.
Right.
Crossing is very different from that feeling where people are going to the beach during the day.
Right.
So not everyone dresses up as much as we do as vintage lovers.
Yes.
But in general, it's a more put together feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, the daytime can be more casual. If you
Yes.
prefer casual, that's okay. But by the evening, you are actually required to be at least semi-formal to join the dining room dinners.
Yeah.
If for some reason you're not feeling well and you're not up to it, you can be casual in the buffet.
That's right.
But to go to the dining room, you need to be at least in the semi-formal wear on the regular nights, and then the 3 formal nights, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and when they, from sort of a male perspective, when they're talking about semi-formal, that could be separates with a jacket, but you don't have to wear a tie in this situation. They used to require people to wear a tie. It's not the case anymore. When it comes to women's, what are we talking about? Separates and a skirt or a pantsuit, something like that. Right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think, to be honest, I mean, we've seen people who are very dressed up and who are less dressed up.
Right.
So you could, let's put it this way, definitely no jeans.
Sure.
That's a no, but otherwise it can be pretty flexible how you interpret it. Some people actually call semi-formal these days even kind of business.
Yes, business casual.
Business casual, that's like a bit of a buzz thing. And if you've worked in an office recently, you might know that offices are not as formal as they used to be either.
Yeah.
So you can get away with a lot. But I would say if you like to dress up, don't fear being overdressed. I think we're going to have a whole range in our crowd from like regular to extra.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, exactly. And by regular, I mean, like I consider what I'm wearing right now a regular thing. I mean, it's like, and that's just me. That's my barometer. For some people, it's going to be just a simple repro dress, and they're going to feel like, beautiful, or like a sweater set. And that's where they feel comfortable.
Right.
And again, I just want to articulate, the idea of like no jeans. That's an after 6 thing. So like there is a there was a evening wear company called After 6, and I remember, just a quick story, I was wearing morning dress, which, if you're wearing like the 1920s, 1930s, people would wear a morning coat and a double-breasted vest and whatever. I was wearing morning dress at the Metropolitan Museum, and it was just after 6. I had been out all day. It was just after 6. And one of the guards looked at me and was like, morning dress after 6. I was like, bro, you're coming at me like this? You coming at me like this? Wow. One of the guards.
That's funny.
I love it. But don't worry, people won't be as harsh as that guard. But
no. I mean, that's funny. He clearly knew his stuff, which not everyone does.
Yes.
Like, we were dressed up more than most people during the day for sure on our crossing. I was wearing, I think, my little suit that I like so much, with a bit of a 40s vibe. And we went, in the comments here, Alexandra's talking about someone being turned away for having jeans. But there were 2 ladies. It was before 6.
Yes.
They were in yoga wear.
Right.
Casual yoga pants. And one lady turned to the other and said, "We need to work on our outfits." And I thought, well, yeah, but you're not part of our crossing, so it's okay.
Right,
But
right.
generally speaking, yes, I'm not going to be afraid to pack a couple of hats
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
mix of blouses, skirts.
Yeah.
And for the evenings, people want to know how formal are the
Right.
evenings.
Sure.
The 3 formal nights. Black and white ball. The first formal night of the 3 is always a black and white ball.
Sure.
Now, Tom said if you don't want to wear black or white,
Yeah.
that's okay. But generally speaking, you would, if you have something black or white, that's the night to wear it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's pretty open. I think a gentleman could wear a suit or a full tux.
Right.
No one's going to frown on you for wearing a suit. But if you want to wear a full tuxedo, you absolutely can. If you're like our friend Tim who's coming and he wants to wear his full Scottish regalia, absolutely.
Come on, Tim.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yes.
So good.
Not sure if he's with us, but he's going to definitely look sharp.
Yes.
And as a lady, you can wear, or a gentleman, or however you identify, you
Yes.
can wear a full gown if you would like to. You're not
Absolutely.
required to wear it to the floor. So sometimes people feel like, oh, a formal has to be a full-length gown. If you want an excuse to wear a full-length gown because we don't have as many opportunities, and this is great, but you don't have to. Right, so nobody's going to be measuring exactly, where your hem is going to.
Yeah.
And you've got some flexibility there.
That's...
So the black and white ball is the first one. The second formal night is open. You can wear any color,
Right.
any style you would like. And the third is the masquerade. And the masquerade is also a bit optional.
Right.
Yeah, some people go all out, really leaning towards costumey.
Mm-hmm.
And other people, it's more just a normal formal night. And you could wear your normal formal wear and a mask, or you can just skip the mask, or you could go almost full. If you want to do cosplay, that's your night, actually, as well. You would be welcome to in that environment with a formal feeling to the masquerade. So there were people quite dressed up, and I think they have a costume contest, actually. So there is a little bit of a costume feeling on the masquerade night. But we're going to have our masquerade coincide with Dandy's New Orleans theme.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
That'll be nice.
It'll be great. It really will be a great opportunity to lean into the costume vibe. Hey, we're living in New Orleans for an evening, and that's
Yeah.
one of the other things that I want to mention about the themed nights, is that I really want to find ways for that theme to feel sort of sprinkled throughout the day. We're gonna figure out some ways to go, all right, so if we're doing a New Orleans theme, what does that day look like? What are the different ways that I can curate a full day experience so that when we get to that evening dance, right? Yeah, we're really
Yes.
living in it. I see Jonas asking about
Yes.
white tie.
White
Of course.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
Yes, if you want to wear, so it's a little bit different. Like if you were invited to a very formal event by the Queen,
Right.
there would be a very specific dress code, and this is more open. So absolutely, if you would like to wear white tie, you should. But if you don't have white tie and you would rather wear just a regular tuxedo
Sure.
or a regular suit, it's really flexible. We're not all going to have that exact same level like they used
Right.
to. It's more flexible. But again, don't be afraid to overdress if that's your thing.
Yeah.
If you don't overdress, if you don't have a lot to choose from, don't worry. But do not be afraid. If you love to go all out, do the white tie, do the full ball gown, go wild.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that personal style is key. Yes, there are we're dealing with formal nights and that's sort of a ship rule, but come on. Personal style. And if for you your however you identify is how you want to dress, go there.
Right.
Do it.
It's true.
That's
I
it.
was a little bit peeved at first that there was a black and white ball because I don't really like wearing black and white. I'm kind of a color person.
Right.
But I did end up finding a black gown that I'm very pleased with, so it's been fine. But, once again, even within those parameters or the
Yes.
masquerade, you can find ways to make it work. And if you want to say, forget it, I'm doing my
Right.
own thing, that's okay too. Once again, as long as you're not wearing jeans and totally going under the dress code, you can go crazy. And actually, I am looking forward to the rest of the ship,
Yes.
really wondering what is going on. I mean, they're going to get to know that there's this party of people. We're going to be up to 300 of us
Right.
on the ship. We do hope
Mhm.
to get to 300. We're not
Yes.
there yet. We want to get more of you booked.
Yeah, we've got a little
But
bit of space. We've got a little bit of space.
we
But
do.
yeah.
And we are going to be having more fun, I'm sorry, than other people on the ship. And it's going to show, and we want other people to really, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to make people feel bad about their vacation, but we're going to look good. We're going to look really good.
Giselle is asking, will all the information on attire be available online?
Yes. So we already on our own site at Ahoy Vintage Cruises, there is an FAQ,
Yes.
and we link to the Cunard description of
Right.
the night. When you look at the Cunard one, like I think Dandy, you were just watching their video and it kind
Yeah.
of made you laugh.
Yeah. So that video is from 6 years ago, and the gentleman is very stoic in his delivery of it, and it's like a list. He could have just said business casual. He could have said business casual, for male identifying folks, and and gone into it. But it was very interesting. But I think the key is put together. That's the key. If you love vintage,
Right.
you're already in this world, in this mentality of being put together. Even if it's a touch of vintage, like just, a brooch or your hair or your makeup or the shoes. And that's the touch that then brings it from, muggle life into vintage life, muggle vintage hybrid,
Right.
that's it. And so, that is something to keep in mind.
Yes.
Mystic.
Maybe we'll hammer through a couple more questions. Yeah, I see some more questions coming in here.
Yeah, Mr. Kid.
Right. So, actually, one thing someone's asking too is if you aren't in the Vintage Cruise Lounge, that's a great place to discuss these things along with the Zoom next week.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if Jeff is able to drop the direct link, but we link from ahoyvintagecruises.com to the Facebook group, or just go on Facebook and put in Vintage Cruise Lounge, and you'll find you'll find the link to and that's a great group because you can talk about everything. In terms of lots of things we've talked about now, I think already all of your themes are excellent, but there's especially a lot of enthusiasm for the are we calling it Night at the Movies?
Yes,
the Hollywood?
at the movies.
At the movies. So one thing we haven't been able to do yet, and we won't be able to do until a little later, is set the precise schedule of exactly what's going on where, because we have to wait on Cunard for a few things.
Absolutely.
But I think we're going to do our best to have one of the formal nights fall with your at the movies theme, because it seems like such a good fit. And like I said, the masquerade, which is a formal night, which will also meet with the New Orleans one. And we aren't quite as sure. The black and white ball, we don't exactly know.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we don't know is because Cunard is actually giving us a cocktail party, but we don't know when it's going to happen yet. So that's why the schedule is a little bit hard to know exactly where we're putting what. So some of the themes are throughout the ship, like those formal general themes like the black and white and the masquerade. Everyone on the ship will have that theme, but we will put our vintage extra flair on it.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to prices and deposits and all of that stuff, speaking to Tom directly is the vibe. Go to Ahoy Vintage Cruises.
That's right.
He'll sort you out.
Yes, the prices start at about $17.90, I believe, in American dollars.
Sure.
But it depends because there are such different cabins, and then the
Yes.
deposit is a percentage based on your cabin.
Right.
So you really have to talk to him about your preferences.
Yes.
And he will take such good care of you. Tom is like, you couldn't be in better hands than with Tom. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and when it comes and when it comes to the pricing, you know, yes, he'll sort that out, but you know, what are you paying for? The Queen Mary and all of those experiences, you're paying for the private events that we're curating, and also you're paying the band. So you're paying
but
artists.
It's interesting because Tom's prices are so good that actually when you book with Tom, you get all of the parties with Dandy for like all the private events for almost the same as what you would pay for just like if you were a normal person booking the ship. Like we get all these extras through Tom with the private parties. And of course we want to employ this incredible band that we are so thrilled to see. So yeah, all the more reason to get booked.
Yeah, please. We have a
couple of other things that came up here too.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a question from Shannon.
Sponsored cocktail party.
Yeah, I know. Shannon, you're already oh man.
Sponsored cocktail party.
You're already in my head. It's so good. So we're working on some sponsors. We can't reveal anything just yet because stuff has not been nailed down just yet. But that drink packages will be involved in that in some way, shape, or form. But as far as the drink packages in general, what does it include, Mandy?
Yes. So, well, I do want to mention the cocktail party that Cunard hosts for us. They will give us each I think champagne or something, a cocktail anyways. So the cocktail party, even if you don't buy a single other drink the entire week, they'll have a non-alcoholic option and that's complimentary from the ship, not from us. So they're just so happy to have us in our vintage group.
Yes.
And we are hoping to have another Zoom with a sponsor announced as soon as possible. And, you know, something else someone has asked previously is if you don't drink, there are nice non-alcoholic options. And it's possible to get some virgin cocktails, that kind of thing. So don't feel like you're totally left out if you don't drink alcohol. So we of course love to talk about cocktails, but don't feel like you'll be left out.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yes.
First of all, Bonnie, thank you very much. Yes, got to pay the band. I appreciate that.
Got to pay the band.
Mr. Kidd, Kidd, one more time. Yes, the observatory and the library. I mean, it's the only planetarium at sea and the only and the largest library at sea. This is what we're talking about.
Right. There's a special the planetarium, they have a special presentation that you have to that's actually the dining room we're looking at.
Here's the library.
That's the library. Yes, beautiful library. And, you know, you can sit and read a book. You can borrow books, bring your own book and just have a nice quiet place to sit. It's really lovely. And, you know, there's views in different areas where you can sit and look at the ocean. It's lovely. The planetarium, they do a special show and you book your seating because there's limited space for each show. And I think they're moving that to online, but I'm not sure. Like when we were there, you went and got your ticket for the show on the ship. But I think we'll find out about that between now and then because I think of COVID and things. They're trying to do some stuff online before people go.
Yeah.
Yes. And for the planetarium, it's a really great theater. They have only certain seats that you use to be able to see the planetarium part above for that show. So that's quite interesting. Now, this kind of brings me to the subject, though, of seasickness because I get seasick.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Yes, and my good friend Dean, who's coming on your crossing, he gets seasick. We've been talking a lot about seasickness.
Yes.
There is excellent medication available for seasickness.
Right.
You can look at it ahead of time and bring some with you, and they also have it for sale and it's very inexpensive down at the purser's desk, not
Right.
in the regular little shop. Like the regular shop has things like, oh, if you forgot your toothpaste, you can get some toothpaste along with perfume and jewelry and things. But you go down to the purser's desk if you didn't bring any of your own seasick medication. I could not do the planetarium show because it's just, I have a bit of a sensitivity. Also, my seasickness crosses into virtual reality stuff. So it wasn't great for me. So I skipped that part just to make sure I could still dance that evening and not turn green.
Right.
But
yes.
it was a great show. Jeff loved the planetarium show. It's really great. And that's also the theater that they use for the lectures. So it's a really versatile space and something very special. I don't think I could be wrong, but I think that's unique at sea.
Right.
Oh no, absolutely. Has it on the
absolutely. And Tom just chimed in with a few details here as far as the price deposit is a percentage of your total cabin price, right? Okay. So this is the thing. Talk to Tom. Go to ahoyvintagecruises.com. Speak to Tom. Put in and you'll get on the phone and you'll feel like you're right at home in Texas. Cause Tom's from Texas and he makes you feel right at home and gives you all the details. He's got your back, and has done this crossing so many times. So he really knows.
Yes, he really has. That's how this came up for me. I met Tom on the Queen Mary 2 in 2019 when Jeff and I went, and that's how I ended up on this call with you, Dandy. It's just a wonderful thing, and Tom is so terrific. And all of these questions, you should definitely speak with him about it. And something else people obviously are all curious about is COVID and COVID protocols and precautions.
Of course.
Now, things can change a lot between now and October.
Yes.
Tom was actually just on the Queen Mary 2 in December. It's his normal December trip. And we put it on the blog, actually, right on the website. We talked about his recent trip and what the protocols were like, but we can expect them to change. Hopefully they'll keep loosening because the global situation gets better and better between now and the fall. But in terms of the up-to-date information, you'll want to have a look at Cunard's most recent updates about their COVID protocols.
Right.
The ship is spotless. They clean it. It's immaculate, so you don't need to worry about that. They're also rotating the air much more frequently on the ship. But, things like specific vaccine requirements and, vaccine passports, or even just, will we have to wear masks all around the ship? That might change between now and then. Like Tom said on his December crossing, you did have to wear your mask in the public areas, but once you sat down for dinner or sat down at a nightclub, you could take off your mask. That might be the case, or it might all change between now and October. So we're going to keep an eye on it because obviously everybody's wondering, and I am too. And we'll keep you updated, but it's a little early. There's a different vintage crossing taking place in April. They get to be sort of the guinea pigs a little sooner. And but I think October is quite a long way off, and we're gonna have probably a whole other experience then.
Yeah, it is definitely a long way off. So when it comes to sort of the way that the world is going, we have some time to suss it out. But just keep in mind that our cutoff for sort of final numbers and passengers is May. So make sure.
It's actually.
Oh, what?
Yeah, we want it to be May. Well, let's put it this way.
Yes, get in there.
Actually,
get in there.
Deposits. So this is what Tom said in the chat. Tom said that actually deposits are fully refundable till June 10th. So you can book, and we actually have until June 10th for fully refundable deposits. So if your situation completely changes, just throw down your small deposit. It's very moderate, and you don't have to worry. It's guaranteed until June 10th. It also depends, this is something funny. Like the ship right now is getting very full because there are other people who book the ship too. There's a very good chance it's all going to be sold out by May, June. But, when there's a cancellation, somebody in our group or on the ship, we'll have our own waiting list. Tom will have a waiting list, and you shouldn't be afraid to get in touch because sometimes things happen, or even a cabin opens up. Like I think that happened already, where someone was interested in a princess cabin and they were already sold out. But when he looked a week later, someone had canceled. So we give you these dates and we want you to book, but maybe we'll be able to sneak in some more people between June and October. But you shouldn't wait till then. You should book right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is it's get the deposit in. It's totally refundable, so that at least you put a pin in it, right? You start to plan for it. We keep an eye on things. There's going to be lots of updates. Hang out in the cruise lounge on Facebook. We'll also be pushing some of that stuff out via Instagram, and of course all of the Ahoy. This is the thing is once you reach out, then you're on the mailing list. We can start to really send you stuff and keep you in the loop because, again, this is not just, the logistics of travel. All of that is very, very important, but also an opportunity to start to lay the foundation because we're going to be hanging out for 7 days plus, maybe a little bit early on the other side, on the London side.
That's right. Yes. And, I know people are talking about COVID. As it is right now, you are required to be vaccinated.
Yes.
And I certainly encourage everyone to be vaccinated.
Yes.
And I think Tom's going to follow some of these suggestions in the, inside of the chat here. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are, if we would even be allowed to have separate protocols from the rest of the ship.
Sure.
But Cunard is taking those protocols very, very seriously, as are all of us. And to date, because I know many of the people who have already booked, I think this is fair to say, maybe this is, I don't think this should be controversial. We're a pretty vaccinated crowd and vaccinated-minded crowd. So keep that in mind. I want people to feel good about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
just saying that for our people.
Yeah.
But things like boosters, and we don't really know yet, and that's sort of different country to country what's even available and what would be available between now and then. So we will keep up to date, and we will have several Zooms and chances to talk about it.
Yeah.
And again, you've got till June 10th with that fully refundable deposit, and passports. Someone was asking about passports. You need a passport.
For sure.
You might, depending on what country you're from, also need a visa. Talk to Tom. So if you're from the UK or USA or Canada, I don't think you need visas in most cases, but depending on if you're coming from Russia or somewhere else, you might need a visa. So talk to Tom. He can help you out with those things. And again, if you book with Tom, make sure to ask him about that hotel, the flight, the bus from Southampton to London. And he actually is also putting together probably an excursion in London first. So if people want to go together, there's different options. I'm not exactly sure if we were talking about a boat trip, or some people like to go to the Downton Abbey Palace. So there are different things that might happen. And on the ship, we have our main parties, but there's lots of free time too. And I was saying to you, Dandy, it's like choose your own adventure.
It is definitely choose your own adventure.
In addition to the main parties. Yes. If you're a really social person, you will be able to get together with other vintage people to do all sorts of things all day long. But if you're a little bit private and you just want to emerge to spend, the parties with us and the rest of the time be in the library, that's cool too. So every day, we'll probably have a set time of day where it's like walk around the ship together dressed up. We'll have shuffleboard parties, like you said. We'll all go to the pool sometimes. We will stay vocal about it, and you'll have lots of chance to be together and to have lots of company if that's your thing. Go to tea together, have lunch together, all of those things. Very unofficial, but many people have asked about dancing.
Yes.
And dance lessons.
Tell us more, man.
Yes. I have one of my dear friends who is an internationally recognized Lindy Hop instructor who is coming on the ship, and we just have to see about the space availability. But we are definitely, in some form, going to have some beginner dance lessons for our group.
Great.
So we don't know exactly how much space we can get for it yet and where it's going to be. But if you're interested in dancing, we will have a chance for you to learn if you can't learn at home before you come. And it's also just social. Dance lessons are chances to meet people and have some more time together, which is nice.
And I also, my perspective on clothing and personal style, especially when it comes to vintage and your level of comfort and all of that stuff and where you are in your life. That also goes for dancing. Trust me. The music is here. You could do some Lindy Hop business, but you could also just go.
Yes.
That's all you need.
Anything goes. Yeah.
Anything goes.
You don't have to have formal dance lessons.
Yes,
That's true. We will offer something, but you can make it up, and we will be just as happy to see you out there for sure.
That's exactly it.
Now,
go for it.
It's a bit of a funny bridge from talking about dance lessons, but because we were talking about Lindy Hop a little bit, it just so happens that many Lindy Hoppers are vegan, and people have been asking about dietary requirements on the ship.
Yes.
So there's absolutely, the ship can cater to every kind of diet. It's excellent. Again, my friend who is going to be helping with the dance lessons, she's vegan. Jonas was asking about if there are vegan options. Yes. You'll let the ship know, at dinner, they get to know you because you sit in the same place at dinner every night. So they'll be able to take special care of you, and you'll just let them know at the different meals. Now, the buffet has anything and everything you could want. So when you eat at the buffet, if you prefer to go there for breakfast or lunch, no problem. And then for the seated options, I like a seated lunch personally, as well as the dinner. You just let them know and they'll take care of you. I found the menus, maybe it's a British thing. There weren't as many green salads as I personally am used to, because I like to have a salad at lunch so I can eat every possible dessert at tea. So you can ask off menu. I asked them to bring me a spinach salad, and that's no problem. They will bring you whatever you would like. It's really quite amazing how well they take care of you, so you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, that's so amazing. People are asking if I'm going to be performing in the UK ahead of time. We're working out some of those details. There might be a bon voyage dance or some sort of event. A lot of that has to do with sponsors and figuring out some of that, and then just figuring out some of personal things on the UK side. As far as you know what I'm talking about, licenses and visas and whatnot, and permits and things that I can do in the UK and whatnot. So I'm working on stuff like that. But I do live in New York. I'm American, just in case. Yeah. Just in case you didn't know. So if you coming over and you want to hang out with us in New York City, I think we can probably get together something happening in New York. So we'll figure it out. Yeah. The event, the crossing is Tuesday to Tuesday. So I know that we talked about it. Some people may have to head right home and get back to work, but who knows? We'll figure it out. We'll talk about it. That's why the lounge is important. That's why staying connected with us is important on all this stuff, because we've got stuff planned. We've got stuff planned.
Yes, that's right. So, stay in touch about that. Again, Tom can help with the flights. You can keep in mind that Tuesday to Tuesday, many of us will be arriving the weekend before the crossing to spend at least a couple of days in London. Some people might spend even more, a week plus. But I know for myself, I will fly in probably landing Saturday and spend the weekend. And we'll also get to meet each other, I'm sure, in London to be best friends by the time the crossing starts. And if you're shy or just, traveling alone, I'm naturally a little bit of a host that wants to make sure people meet each other and have friends. So don't worry about being shy or on your own. We'll definitely take care of that on the ship. And it's going to be a great vibe. Like, I feel so positive about the people and the just general feeling of what this crossing is. Like, I think it's got such a feel-good, positive vibe. Like you said, you interpret it in your own way. Right. No snobbery, no gatekeeping. Yes. We are just, like, this is honestly going to be the best vacation ever. Ever. Really.
Thank you so much, Mandy, for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you for hanging out in the chat and sounding off all the questions. We'll continue the conversation on the Facebook group, The Lounge, but also, you can say hello to me on Instagram. Make sure you follow Ahoy Vintage Cruises on Instagram. Mandy, Thank you so much for being with us
Yeah,
today.
thank you. And next week there's a Zoom.
Yes.
Just one more reminder.
What is
So
happening?
Have a look again on the website. Yeah, at Ahoy Vintage Cruise at the same time next week.
Same
So
time.
12, New York City. We will all get together in a more informal way so that you can all chat and ask questions or just introduce yourselves.
Yes.
So just check that out. And there's an RSVP so you can get the link to the Zoom. And if you live somewhere like my friend in Singapore, giving something away there. My friend in Singapore, though, this is a bit of an awkward time for her. So she said, I can't stay up this late. She went to sleep. So we might end up having at some point a separate, like a different time zone Zoom as well.
For sure. Yeah. I like to do live streams sometimes at 4:00 Eastern Standard Time so that the Australians and the Japanese and folks, they can wake up and say hello. And so we'll absolutely
we'll work that out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
so,
Mandy.
Mandy. Thank you. We're so excited.
I really appreciate it. I want to, folks, can we just give a loud round of applause and lots of stars and emojis to Mandy, please? Can we please just give her lots and lots of love? Super amazing. Thank you so much, Mandy. Thank you so much. Folks, it has been a pleasure, a wonderful joy to talk to you guys about this fascinating voyage. I'm super excited. It is October 2022 this year. So we're talking about it. We're getting it together. We're starting to plan some things. We're making it happen, right? June 10th, just found out, you found out right here. June 10th is right now our final day for deposits. So make sure you reach out to Tom. Make sure you go to ahoyvintagecruises.com, find out what's going on, figure out what cabin you want, start to look at maybe what wardrobe you want to build, you know, all that stuff, because that is what's going on. I want to give a shout out. My patrons support me. They help me. They're amazing. I have a great Patreon community that's happening. We do live streams all the time, and we're sort of getting into the nitty-gritty, the behind the scenes, and a lot of the stuff that I'm working on with this crossing. Some of that stuff I am putting out there amongst a lot of other things. You've been watching the Dandy Live Show. My name's Dandy Wellington, doing videos and life on jazz, style, and culture. Folks, you guys are amazing. Our fascinating voyage is coming up. I'll see you soon. My name's Dandy Wellington, inviting you to join me on a fascinating voyage. We'll be crossing the Atlantic Ocean from London to New York aboard Cunard's world-famous Queen Mary 2. Travel the sea in style on this vintage-themed 7-day passage. I'll be hosting private parties with my band in the largest ballroom at sea.
Across the ocean blue.
Plus, daily activities will give you an opportunity to show off your vintage style. I can't wait to set sail.